I'm Pat Sylvester. I'm the president of the Columbia Downtown Housing Corporation and the master of ceremonies. And before we begin, I want to take a moment and introduce some folks that are in the crowd. Kelly Simino is the director of the Department of Housing and Community Development. Carolyn Harper is chair of the Howard County Housing Department Board. I see Karen. There we go. Maury Zeiler and Grace Morris are members also of the board. All right. We have Mitra Basu from the Howard County Workforce Development Office. Peter Engel with the Commission. There we go, in the back over there. Philip Dodge, Executive Director of Downtown Columbia Partnership. Mary Kay Sigaty is joining us. Thank you for being here, former councilperson. China Williams is here for County Councilperson Deb Young. China? There she is. Now, we have many other folks that are in the audience. You are all very important to all of us, and we will get to that as we go along. So, why are we here? It's exciting. I got to tell you, I'm so excited. I'm here to be here with the CDHC partners, the Howard County General Hospital, thank you. The county, thank you. The landlords, where do we have? The Kettler people? We have landlords who are all participating to launch a bold, unique program. I believe this program is unique to Maryland, and I actually believe it's unique to the country. So we should be very proud of ourselves. So what are we talking about? Live where you work? It's one critical component of the Downtown Affordable Housing Plan. It's designed to help ensure a vital, thriving, and sustainable downtown with a range of housing opportunities for people of varying incomes and situations. Under Live Where You Work, CDHC partners with employers. All right? And they have to be located in or near downtown to enable their employees who otherwise couldn't afford to live in this great place to be able to afford to live and work in generally the same place. All right. So how do we do it? So the employer and CDHC, we partner. We agree to share the cost of a rental subsidy that will be paid to a landlord on behalf of the employee. Now, the employer specifies the criteria. They have complete control over which employees can be involved, what the criteria are to be eligible, right? They do that piece. Okay? Then we're using the existing program, Moderate Income Housing Unit Program, MIHU for those of us that are housers and understand initials, LIHU program, to sort of set the rent and income levels. So we're using a tried and true process to do something new, bold, and different. The maximum income to participate is 60% of the Howard County median. And for those of you that might not have that number right off the tip of your head, it's a little under $47,000 for a one-person household. All right, and the employee is going to pay a specified rent level. So someone who makes that amount of money and is living in a one-bedroom is going to pay $1,085 in rent. So this is not a free, it's $1,085. Now, for someone who qualifies at a low-income housing level, which is about 40% of the Howard County median, right, that's around a little over $31,000. For that same unit, they're going to pay $667. Right? And the employer and CDHC are going to cover the difference between the rent the employee pays and the advertised rent for the unit. Right? Now, CDHC and the employer are going to send their money to Kelly at the Department of Housing and Community Development. And they have agreed to provide the monthly payments to the landlord. So the payments will be made monthly to the landlords. Employees and landlords sign a standard lease. Landlords get to use their normal criteria. Right? And then there's a lease supplement between CDHC and the landlord that specifies the terms and agreements related to the subsidy. An employee is signing a one-year lease, but they have the option to do 2 years of renewal. So they can live in the unit if they choose or participate in the program for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, they're on their own, but we are working with the Department of Housing and Community Development to offer housing counseling or homeownership counseling to help them make the transition. And hopefully within 3 years, we may have tax credit units on board in downtown. We may have other affordable units on board in downtown, and so there's another possible transition. So we have participating landlords, yay. So I got to tell you, it was a lot of work to get this done. But we're pleased to say that the Metropolitan, 10M, M-Flats, and Columbia Town Center are all participating. The legislation or the rules require us to only provide this within the downtown footprint. So not everybody can participate. So the hospital is our first employer, and they stepped right up and we're willing to participate. And that takes guts and passion, and we are very appreciative. Thank you so much. It's never easy to be the first one. You know, I get my little granddaughter loves to be the line leader. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But we want other employers to participate. We've reached out to others, we're talking. But if you are an employee and you work in downtown, or you are an employer who has an office in or near downtown, don't be shy. Pick up that phone, text us, let us know. We would love to talk to you. So now I'd like to take a moment, sort of transition a bit, and I want to take the time to thank the CDHC board members who have worked tirelessly over the last 2 years. We started on this in February of 2017. Paul Casey is here. I know Peter Morgan is here. Have I missed anybody? Raise your hands there. And I got to tell you, there's 13 of us. We're all volunteers. Who? Where did I? Oh, Gerald, hi. You're sitting down. Thank you. You listened to me in the beginning. It is remarkable, and we're real excited about this. You know, it's still small, but we're excited. So, as you may know, CDHC is a quasi-public nonprofit. We were formed in 2012. We're charged under the Columbia Downtown Plan with administering the Downtown Columbia Fund to assist and support affordable housing in downtown. The fund receives revenue from the master developer, Mr. Hughes, and from other downtown businesses and properties. It is this fund, it's the money in this fund that provides the funding for the Live Where You Work rental subsidies provided by CDHC. It's not taxpayer money, just to make that point. All right, so the employer, private entity, CDHC receiving funds from private entities, funding a rental subsidy to help people who work in downtown and help us each and every day to live in downtown. It's exciting to see the plan take shape. It's one of the affordable housing components of the Downtown Affordable Housing Plan, which is known as the DRRA, the Development Rights and Responsibilities Act. CDHC had a big role, maybe perhaps an important role, in getting the DRRA done. We believe it is an important and groundbreaking roadmap to how to do affordable housing in settings such as this. We're really proud of it. We know that there are lots of people that have different opinions, but we are definitely proud. We are definitely moving forward. We are pleased to see the plan take shape and begin, because this is what we celebrate today, a beginning. We will continue. So at this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium a man who has also worked long and hard to move the Downtown Columbia vision forward. We appreciate the leadership and foresight he brings to this and to all the endeavors. It is both exciting and challenging to have him at the helm of the county. We thank him for his support and good work to date. I don't think he needs any further introduction. We look forward to continued collaboration. Dr. Ball.
Let's give a big round of applause again for Pat Sylvester. Many people know that oftentimes, as I think about the decisions that we make and the moments in time that make our future, I think about time and space. And Pat has been a good friend and role model on these issues for quite some time, and I really appreciate her steadfast diligence and perseverance. I was thinking recently as I was on a trip in Portland, Oregon. And Portland, if you don't know, is one of the most gentrified places in America. And I was thinking about when I became a council member, there were several articles in 2006 that talked about my dedication to affordable housing and understanding that there was an importance in having a full spectrum of affordable housing because it meant opportunity. It meant opportunity in a place like Howard County where we have some of the best schools in America, where a place like U.S. News and World Report says that we're one of the healthiest, where we're one of the safest, where we have an enviable quality of life. And what really makes us special is that not only are we diverse, but we embrace diversity and inclusion. And having you here to celebrate this innovative public-private partnership, as Pat said, not only one, probably the first in the state, but in the nation, where we are ensuring this full spectrum of affordability and targeting these rental housing gaps is who we are. It's who we are when we talk about our values of expanding opportunity and thinking about the future. And when we look at the data, because in Howard County, one of the places where we have the highest education levels, we are often data informed, we have about a 5,000 rental unit deficiency in affordable housing. 5,000. So we have so much work to do. And when we look at a program like Live Where You Work, it's not just about the affordable housing aspect. It's about making sure that people can continue and work and growing their careers. And frankly, it's also about things like the environment. When we look at being in our cars more, it's about our health. When we think about the time that many people are taking to have to go to these jobs, and having the hospital as our first partner, and I say first because we're going to have many others, our first partner speaks to their dedication and commitment to our community, to the future, and to the health and wellness of our society. And this program is good, and I see Mr. McClarty here as part of our Chamber of Commerce, for our local economy. It's good for business, and it's good for the future of our society and our success. And being involved, not only as your county executive, formerly as your council member, before that as a community organizer, but just as your neighbor who is raising children in this world, in this nation, in this state, in this county, where I want them and all of their peers to have the chance to live in this place called Columbia, that was built on the foundation of the values of a Jim Rouse. But even more than that, in the past, that we are creating for an even brighter and better future is something that does my heart proud. And I can't tell you what an honor it is to be in a room. I mean, the cameras can't see the beautiful faces on the other side of some of the most brilliant, dedicated public servants I've ever had the honor to work with on such an intractable issue. You know, affordable housing is something that so many people support in theory. But when it comes to practice, there always seems to be a challenge. Not there, not now, not in that way. And it takes Herculean efforts of persistence, of dedication, of thinking about not just ourselves, but our brothers and sisters today and tomorrow who will come behind us. And having this full spectrum of affordable housing adds to the beautiful tapestry of who we are in our lives. So this is a momentous occasion. I'm honored to be here, and I'm proud to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great words. Very much appreciated. So our next speaker is the president of the Howard County General Hospital. His number one goal for the hospital is creating a delightful experience for patients and their families. A delightful. I like that word. It's unusual. While ensuring the highest levels of patient care and safety. So he arrived in 2014. The hospital has since earned several healthcare awards, including an A from the Leapfrog organization. He's co-chair of the Howard County Local Health Improvement Coalition, and he was just installed as chairman of the Economic Development Authority Board. Please join me in welcoming Steve Snellgrove.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, County Executive Ball. I don't think I could speak any more eloquently than you already have about what this community is and how we come together in moments of need, never satisfied with where we are, but always trying to take it to the next level to be, in many ways, the best community in America and the healthiest community in all of America as well. We're number 10 according to U.S. News and World Report this year. Howard County General Hospital was incredibly proud to be the first employer to participate in this noble initiative. Many talk about it, but as you said, we made it happen. We are the second largest private employer here in Howard County, and in knowing a hospital, we run an operation that's 24/7, just like a small city. We have all kinds of roles and responsibilities and many types of jobs. It's not just doctors and nurses, but we also have kitchen staff, we have security, we have housekeeping, we have transportation aides. All of these are part of the 1,800 individuals that are employed at Howard County to make this system of care work. To be honest with you, our turnover rates are much higher than we would like in some of our most critical areas. Often that's because the people that we need to recruit in some of our entry-level positions have to come from out of county to work in this organization because in spite of Howard County being a great place to live, it's also an expensive place to live. Our goal, as Pat mentioned, and I take great pride in saying, is to create a delightful patient experience. And unfortunately in healthcare, you don't hear those words coming together in one sentence often enough. And so we have to set lofty ambitions for ourselves. But it is also to be the best place to work for our employees. We want to recruit them, we want to retain them, we want them to recognize that they are coming into Howard County General Hospital as part of a 42,000 employee base of Johns Hopkins Medicine. And while we want them to stay here, this may be the humble beginning for somebody's career that can be very, truly unlimited in serving across the world. Or maybe people from across the world would like to come back and live right here in Howard County when they realize the gift that we have right here. As many of you know, and many of you may still not know, hospitals in the state of Maryland are under a very different reimbursement system where we actually have a cap on the revenue that we receive on an annual basis. We can't always offer the wage adjustments that we would like to, that maybe other hospitals in other states can, and so we have to come up with innovative ideas to give our employees opportunities to succeed in other areas and offer them incentives. By offering this benefit, we're offering one more way to recruit and retain people here in Howard County. Once this memorandum of understanding is signed, we'll be selecting our final applicants in about a month. And we've had great support from our employees. They're very interested in this program already, and we're going to work hard with them to make this a reality for as many as we can. They're very excited, and we believe that in a month we will have our final knowledge about those who will be involved in this first run. And I say first run because this is something that we want to support going forward for our employees. And as Calvin mentioned earlier, we want other employers in this community to see this opportunity as well. I also want to thank Wells Fargo Bank and their Senior Vice President, Doc Walters, over here. Doc, if you raise your hand. Wells Fargo and Doc have been very generous to us by helping us make the contribution for the hospital, and I know they're interested in this success, and maybe if we all demonstrate the success, there'll be even more opportunities in the future. So thank you, well, Doc, for your generous comments. So as you can see, as like everything in this community, this is a real team effort. And this community comes together for as a team, and many groups participate in these practical solutions, and again, we all benefit. We are proud to be making Howard County and downtown Columbia specifically a great place to live, work, play, and receive health care, and now for everyone. So thank you all.
So our next speaker, I don't think needs an introduction from anyone, even though he's only been in Columbia or Howard County for about 5 years. But he's managed to reach across aisles, reach across different oppositions, different places, different things, and bring us all to a place where we might not completely agree, but we get to get stuff done. So he doesn't let the perfect get in the way of the good. He works really hard, and I've seen it personally, and I'm really impressed by it. And so there's a little piece of me that said, I wonder what it is about his background that gets us there. And did you know he was a philosophy major in college? He also has an MBA, and he's done all of the good things that great master developers and real estate folks do. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce Greg Fitchett.
Thanks, Pat. That's very kind. It is about 5 years, a little over 5 years that I've been here in Columbia, and one of the first meetings I had was with Dr. Ball, where he told me his priorities, and number one on that list was affordable housing and needing to fix what was passed, which was really just an in-lieu fee program with the Downtown Columbia plan back in 2010. And it was a very long and hard journey that had many late nights with Pat and with Paul Casey and with Carl DiLorenzo, with Tom Carbo, and many members of the board. And we struggled for a long time because this, affordable housing is an incredibly hard issue to come up with a good solution for. It's incredibly hard. The subsidies that are required to make something work are, it's not something that the private sector can do by itself, and frankly, it's not something that the public sector can do by itself, or the nonprofit community. Everybody really has to work together to solve this. And I think in what we've done in downtown Columbia with the DRRA is an incredibly creative and elegant solution, and it's so exciting to be here today and actually seeing the first implementation of it with the Live Where You Work program. And that's one exciting element. We also have under construction the Juniper Apartments down in the Meriwether District that's going to bring another 24 units, and those will start leasing up in January. We actually have a one-pager kind of handout that provides information, more details about those apartments. But with the Live Where You Work program and with the Juniper Apartments coming online in January, we will have a full spectrum of affordable housing available in downtown Columbia. Everything from very low income units that are really designed for housing choice voucher holders earning 30% or less of the area median income, to the low income units at the Live Where You Work program, and to moderate income units or middle income units at 80% of the median income. So it's full spectrum. We are still very early on, but it's exciting to, many of us in this room worked long and hard on this, and it really is now coming to life. And I also just have to mention, the project with the new cultural center, which just received its tax credits award. So that project, which is, and that's a big chunk of the overall downtown plan, and that program, bringing low-income units to the market mixed in with market rate housing, and that project now has its tax credits award, so it's getting there. I know there's still a couple of hurdles it's got to get over, but that's going to be really, really meaningful and impactful. Yeah, I'm just so pleased to be here today and be part of this. It's exciting. I think Jim Rouse wanted this to be an inclusive community, and he was doing affordable housing before it was required of anyone. He wanted this to be economically integrated and inclusive and diverse, and I believe we really are carrying that vision forward with what we're doing in downtown Columbia today. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It really is exciting to see all three components of affordable housing for downtown start to move forward. But I got to tell you, the next speaker, Mary Kay Sigaty, is going to speak for Greg Fox. He couldn't be here. But Greg Fox deserves recognition because he put a sentence, essentially, in the DRRA that essentially said, create a live where you work program. Now, that's not exactly what the words were, but for those of us that were reading it, trying to get some insights on how to do this, there wasn't a lot. His goal was to try to create a way, without having hard doorknobs, units, for people who were working in downtown to live in downtown. We wouldn't be here with this piece of the puzzle, but I think for Greg Fox and all the other council people that supported him and worked with him on it, as well as the Howard Hughes and everyone. But I sort of think this is his little niche in the world, and we appreciate Mary Kay being here to share some of his thoughts on that matter.
Thank you, Pat. I'm also going to share some of my thoughts because it's a twofer, because he sent me this and I said it's much too long, thank you very much. So today we're here to celebrate what I think Calvin and I could agree on was the sausage making. Yes. That in fact, as we put this whole thing together, each person had an idea, and it was really, how do we put all the ideas together to create a package that meets a need? So Greg wanted me to say lots of things to you, but first of all, he did want me to say he really wishes he were here, but he's out of town. And I think the most important thing that he wants to say is the fact that he is proud of this community. He's proud of the work that the Downtown Columbia Housing Corporation has done. He's proud of the work that we did as a council, and he's proud of the fact that he had a place in affordable housing. Because what you all don't know is that for several years in a row, Greg and I would have this conversation. Greg, we need to support affordable housing. Mary Kay, there's no need for affordable housing in Columbia, we have plenty of it. Or in Howard County, we have plenty of it. Greg, what are you smoking? Right? And it went on and on, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But in this final big thing that we did, Calvin, as a council, right, that matters, we managed to see Greg walk toward us, and we were able to walk toward him. And therefore, we have the program that we do. One of the things that he really wanted me to point out was that he felt particularly humbled, pleased, and wanted to say thank you to Paul Casey because of all of the expertise that you brought to this and your willingness to listen to him and the ideas that he had. But he also wanted to point out that just like his conversation with me, he had the same conversation with Tom Carbo over the years. And the last thing he remembers Tom saying to him was, okay, we got it done, it's a good idea. And so he was very proud of his ability to make that happen. And lastly, I think he and I, and probably Calvin when I say this, have a request. Actually, I have a request of you too. So have a request of our state delegation. All right, I read this and I thought, and he did the same. The fact that ultimately this subsidy is taxable to our folks who have income challenges. And so he makes the point, the request, and this is where the request comes to you as well. He points out that we probably won't be able to move very quickly on help from the feds, because that takes a lot more effort. But Dr. Ball, I think that you may be the person to contemplate this and take it forward to our congressional delegation as the executive here in the county. But you and me, standing here with Greg, have the ability to look at the folks on that side of the room and say, would you please look into this? Would you look at what the state, what we might be able to forgive from the state perspective, where that then becomes another piece of the partnership that allows for folks who are, whom we're trying to help become able within our community without assistance, right? We give them the assistance starting, and we hope that they're going to be able to live within the community. How can the state then help us as well? All right? Again, this is an example of my colleague, or our colleague, Greg Fox, going, right, damn it, we forgot that. Right? And he would always come, as Jessica and I were talking about, it was always the last minute when he had one of these brainwaves. So again, it's very near the end of his remarks. It was one of the last things that he put in here, and he told me that in fact I had to make sure I hit all of his points. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I have hit all of his points, but I'll also say we couldn't possibly do it without Pat Sylvester and the team for the Housing Corporation, and I know there's several people here. And how thrilled I am that Pat has taken over, because you are amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Girl power. All right. So our next speaker is Maryland State Senator Clarence Lamb. He represents the 12th District. Now, I think this is appropriate. He's a doctor. He has a medical degree from the University of Maryland, master's degree in public health, as does my husband, from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. He's a board-certified physician in preventive medicine, and we're really pleased that you could be here today and join us in celebrating affordable housing.
Thank you, Pat, for that wonderful introduction, and it's really a pleasure to be here on behalf of my colleagues from District 12. We have Delegate Terry Hill, Delegate Jessica Feldmark, and also Delegate Eric Ebersol, who could not be here this afternoon. We're really pleased to be here to be able to help kick off this wonderful program, and it really brings together a lot of important issues that I think all four of us really care deeply about, along with other county and local elected officials, and that is of healthcare, as Pat mentioned, housing, and wellness and economic development. And so being able to all come here together to support job growth, to support housing and healthcare really means a lot to the three of us. And there's an old saying there that where you live is your most important career choice, which I think I agree, and I think many of us do recognize and agree as well. And that's why it's important for programs like this to be able to exist in bringing these two concepts together so that you can live where you work. Calvin and I had the opportunity to tour the Howard County Food Bank, myself as the chair of the Board of Directors of Community Action Council of Howard County, with Senator Van Hollen last week. And it really brought to mind the importance of recognizing those who are in need here in the county, that there are still so many who are struggling to be able to make ends meet. And it's really programs like this that are important in making sure that people can afford to live where they work, which was one of the core missions and tenets that we at CAC had really highlighted and championed as well, to make sure that people can afford to live where they work. And it's programs like this that really drive at the heart of that and try to address that as well. And as Pat mentioned, you're actually fortunate here in District 12 to be represented by two physicians. So myself and Delegate Hill both serve as two of the three doctors in the General Assembly. We'll give an honorary doctorate to Jessica, and sometimes Eric is introduced as a doctor as well, just by default. And so osmosis within District 12 here is really important, but I think again all four of us recognize, and especially those of us as physicians, and myself as a preventive medicine physician, that this is exactly the type of program that we want to commend and promote here, because it helps improve people's wellness, their health, and their well-being. And it really touches upon so many of the different social determinants of health that affect people's lives. And I was trying to list just a few of them on my way here, and many of them have been touched on by so many of the other prior speakers as well, and that's things like reduced travel time, congestion and traffic, a real win for our environment, saving money on gas and pollution, and also reducing anxiety for many people that live around here because of reduced congestion and traffic, minimizing stress and improving personal health, increasing productivity, which I think folks at the hospital would be pleased to have, and hopefully many other employers will continue in their footsteps as well, and also improving reliability at work, improving relationships and quality of life in this area. And so those are all things that we hope to continue to be able to challenge. I know many folks had part of this to be able to make this all come together. My commendation to Pat and the Columbia Housing Commission, also to our county executive, Calvin Ball, to our partners with Howard Hughes and the hospital, and so many others, and also to our elected officials as well, in Councilman Greg Fox and Mary Kay Sigaty, and we will take that suggestion to heart. I think that's a very good suggestion, so I think we're all pleased to be able to look at seeing whether we can introduce that piece of legislation as a delegation bill for this upcoming session. And so I want to close with just this kind of examination of synergy, because I lived just a few minutes from Howard County General Hospital and saw this bike path going up along Little Patuxent Parkway, and I know there were a lot of efforts and partnerships that went into making that happen several years ago as well, and it's now finally complete for the last year or two. And then just a couple years ago, we had the Howard County Bike Share Program also start up with many bike stations just around here as well, here in downtown. And just wondering if it wouldn't be great if we could continue to have partnerships like this that could bring all of these programs and services together so that people can live where they work, where they can live here and actually bike, walk, or even run to work at Howard County General Hospital. And we have many more bike paths and trails around here that people can get to other places of work as well. So encourage other businesses to get on board with this partnership, because this is really a first step, but I know this will be one of many other businesses and organizations coming together to support this. So while we're dealing with policies and programs in Annapolis or here in Howard County, sometimes it ends up being a mashup. And I think, Mary Kay mentioned that as sausage making with those on the council and also those in the delegation, and oftentimes it's a mashup of compromises, but it's sometimes very difficult to find the win-win situation, and this is really one of those win-win-win situations. So I thank you to all of those who made this happen and commend you on your efforts, and looking forward to continuing to support programs like this. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a fresh delegate, Jessica Feldmark. And what I like about her background, even though she might not be a doctor, we can't all be doctors, is that she's worked in both the executive and the legislative branches. And it's different. And it is really important to understand the separation of powers and to understand the different roles that the different parts of government play. And I think that you will bring a special way of looking at things in your legislative role, having also worked as an executive and also as an administrator to the legislative branch. So please join us.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here, and thank you and congratulations to all the partners. It really is exciting, and I think my colleagues and friends who have spoken before have sort of covered the highlights and the key points of why this program is so important. So what I want to do is kind of take a step back. And we've been working on downtown Columbia for a while, right? Some of us longer than others, okay? I personally have been working on it since 2003, okay? That's when HRD brought their initial request to the zoning board for additional density to redevelop downtown. And the zoning board ultimately said, no, you've got to bring us something better, okay? And so launched a multi-year community-wide dialogue on what better looked like, okay? So as you might imagine, there was a lot of hearkening back to the founding of Columbia, and the initial plans Jim Rouse's principles and goals for this community. And there was a strong consensus that what happened in downtown Columbia had to be rooted in a vision and values about what kind of community we want to be. And at the heart of that was inclusion. Okay, it was a fundamental founding principle of Columbia, and it was something that folks realized we need to do better at, right? And recognizing that we're not going to be a truly inclusive community until we're successful in delivering a full range of housing opportunities, okay? So this project is, every piece of the plan that actually comes to reality is exciting, because after 16 years of working on something, every little bit that comes to fruition is exciting. But, this plan, this program, the Live Where You Work program, really, I think, speaks to a couple of essential themes from the Downtown Columbia plan. Obviously, inclusion is one of them, right? It's about opening opportunities for people to take part and be part and live in this wonderful community. Another key theme is innovation, right? Jim Rouse wanted a new and better kind of city. Right? So to honor that spirit of innovation means as we approach a big, challenging, complex issue like affordable housing, we don't need to just use every tool available. We need to make some new tools, okay? And this program, I think, really embodies that spirit of innovative problem solving, bringing the private sector into this equation, through the employers and through the developer's contribution. I think it really speaks to some of those founding principles. And so as we celebrate today, and it is exciting, as I said, to see this piece of the plan becoming a reality, right? As we celebrate today, we need to acknowledge our success and remember it is a small piece in a big puzzle. Okay, we have a lot of work ahead of us. So whether it's reimagining inclusionary zoning, right? Whether it's creating new incentives, whether it's working to provide more living wage jobs, recognizing that the cost of housing is only one piece of housing affordability, right? We need to celebrate this success, but keep an eye forward, right? We need today's celebration to be momentum to keep working. And so, as I say, once again, thank you and congratulations. I also look forward to continuing to work together. Thank you.
So with the goal of taking that momentum and continuing to move forward, it is my pleasure to introduce Delegate Terry Hill, who serves on the Health and Government Operations Committee in the House, is a doctor, as someone already stole my thunder, and represents the 12th District. Delegate Hill.
So I want to add my congratulations to those that have already been voiced. This is really remarkable, and it is creative, and I think it is in keeping with the best of what Columbia and Howard County is about, as Jessica so well articulated. I live a couple blocks from Howard County Hospital, and I have the privilege when I go in to see patients, and maybe not as much as I used to, but when I get called to the ER at 2 in the morning, I actually get to make a choice about whether I'm going to walk to the hospital, which I sometimes do even at 2 in the morning, or if I'm going to drive. Okay, and I can afford to have a car. And I think for the hospital to be the first to step up says a lot about how you value your role in the community and how you value your employees. And I I would suggest that that is a challenge for the other employees who are considering whether this is something for them to join. So I appreciate your taking that leadership. You know, as has been said, I mean, you know, Paul, I mean, affordable housing and housing affordability, which are not quite the same thing, is a nationwide issue. And whether it's folks in San Francisco who have jobs but are living out of their cars because they can't afford the rents, or it's New York City, where I had the privilege of living for almost 10 years with, you know, rent-controlled apartments that ran into all kinds of problems when you tried to pass them on to the next generation. This is a conundrum without a clear solution. And I am particularly appreciative of the work of the council, the former council, the executives, the administrations going all the way back, for recognizing that this was a problem that required different solutions than we've used before. When first elected, this was clearly an issue. And I'm going to also give credit to the advocates, the people who pushed back against the developer and the planners and the council and the administration, and said it's just not good enough. That we are not any community. We are special, and we deserve to have a solution that recognizes what makes us special. And that is that anytime you talk about distribution, there's a bell curve, and we are a community that wants to hug and embrace everybody at each end of the bell curve. We don't want to cut off anybody because they're one standard deviation below or two standard deviations below. We want to be inclusive of everybody, and we won't make the mistakes. We refuse to sit by and see the mistakes that were made before when we allowed a village in Columbia to be developed without any affordable housing at all. And so for those voices and for those visionaries who worked and took sometimes abusive pushback, but listened, and who heard us, and who came up with this solution, which is maybe one leg of a multi-legged, three-legged, four-legged stool. I want to congratulate everybody, and I look forward to seeing what a difference this makes for not only the first 5 families that get to participate in this particular program, but the families that will participate going forward, and the new ideas and opportunities that this program will spur. So congratulations to you all, and thank you.
So you should all pat each other on the back, because but for you, we would not be here. So congratulations to everybody. We are now going to do a ceremonial signing of the documents, and then that concludes our program.
Now that you want pictures of the pens moving.
Something happened to your rhythm there, guys. That's
Close, not quite. Not quite. You got one almost.
The next time you do it, it should be.
All right.